My name is Kimberly Taylor. I graduated in 1991.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. My name is Anna Lee, and I am a graduate from the class of 1993.
Yeah, Sharon Baxter. I graduated class of 1990.
I'm Marianne Rosino, and I graduated in 1998.
And I'm Carrie Lee Schmidt, and I graduated in 2003.
I'm Alice Olson, and I graduated from TJ in 2005.
My name is Sarah Brummett, and I graduated in 2005.
My name's Colleen Cairns. I graduated from TJ in 2010.
And I'm Emma Ferris, and I also graduated from TJ in 2010.
Hi, I'm Emma Zareen, your host and a 16-year-old engineering student, policy enthusiast, and hopeful future STEM school survivor. Welcome to She Persists. Before we dive in, I just want to take a second to say how grateful I am for each of you. Every listen and every bit of support genuinely means the world to me. When I started She Persists, it started as a little dream to share real stories of young girls in STEM who are challenging norms, finding their place, and inspiring change. Seeing that idea come to life has been so rewarding, and honestly, it's just the beginning. If you've been enjoying these conversations, I'd love for you to be a part of our community by following this podcast. It's one of the best ways to help us grow, share even more incredible stories, and connect with a wider audience. And I hope the conversation doesn't end here. I hope you carry these stories with you and let them be a constant reminder that your voice truly makes a difference. Today's episode is a little different. Instead of my usual deep dive conversations, I took a mic into the halls of Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology during its 40th Alumni Celebration, where generations of TJ grads came back to where it all started. From the class of 1985 to recent graduates, each person carried a different piece of TJ's story with them. And their stories say more about TJ than anything else ever could. I'd also love to give a huge thank you to TJ for making this possible. So with that, let's get into it. All right, hello, welcome to the She Persists podcast. Who am I here with today, and which year did you graduate from TJ?
My name is Kimberly Taylor. I graduated in 1991.
It's nice to meet you. So what have you been pursuing now after graduating TJ and after starting in your career?
Well, I did an undergrad degree in physics at the University of Virginia. I did a PhD in biophysics at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I worked for some years in biophysics, and then I did a complete turnaround and went to medical school.
Wow. So how did you find that passion to go to medical school after pursuing physics for so long?
I was always interested in biosciences, and actually I was an undergrad pre-med. I was pre-med in undergrad, I should say. And then I developed a chronic disease. And having to learn more about my disease led to talking to people about our disease, which led to doing research in our disease, which led to thinking that look into this more, and eventually decided to apply to medical school.
That's amazing. So what do you hope to pursue in the future after graduating from medical school?
I want to be an obstetrician gynecologist, which doesn't relate to my chronic disease at all, but it's really fascinating.
It's amazing. So do you hope to pursue something more in the industry or research related?
Research related.
That's amazing. Well, it was really nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Enjoy the TJ Alumni Fairs.
Thank you for talking to me.
Hi, welcome to the She Persists podcast. Who am I here with today, and what year did you graduate from TJ?
Hi, I'm happy to be here. My name is Anna Lee, and I am a graduate from the class of 1993.
Amazing. So could you just start off by telling me a little bit about what you've done since graduating from TJ and where you work now?
Yes, I'm happy to talk about that. So after Jefferson, I went to MIT. I graduated there with degrees in biology and political science. And I think even then I started to have this interest in both science and not science. Right now, I work at a company called Salesforce, if people are familiar with that. And specifically, I work for a division within Salesforce that's called Tableau. And the kind of work that I do involves working with customers to sort of explain the technical side of what our software does and what they can do with data and analytics, and explaining them the technical but in non-technical ways. So it is really a great career path for those who love science and can understand it and understand technical things, but also have really good communication skills, kind of high emotional intelligence. And it's a great job. I just enjoy it.
Yeah, so how did you find your way into this workforce from biology?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish that I had known about this kind of career role or career field when I was younger. So I just fell into it by accident. I think not unlike a lot of people who come out of undergraduate, you sort of end up maybe doing something like consulting work, for example. And it's just a friend of mine said, hey, I found this job that's like consulting, but a little bit more fun. You don't work on a single project for a long time. You actually work with customers who are interested in the software, and you just help them figure out like how they can use it and leverage it at their organization. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. And I found out about it by word of mouth. I'm really excited. When I was earlier in my career, I was often the only woman in the room. It'd be me and like 12 men in a room. And I was often the youngest and also a person of color. And I'm really excited to see that when I'm in a room now, there are more women, they're younger. There are more people of all sort of different colors and backgrounds. And it's really exciting to see what's happened with the field in like the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's wonderful that you were able to find that passion and now explore it. That's amazing. So, you mentioned that you got a degree in both biology and political science. How did you find your passion in two fields that are so diverse from each other?
I think it's just an interesting story. I think I like to use the quote that from Bilbo Baggins from Lord of the Rings series. And the quote is, not all who wander are lost. So you just kind of go with the moment and what you're kind of feeling and what makes sense to you and calls to you at the moment. So actually, after college, I went abroad for a couple of years. I did research through an exchange program in Germany, and then I did a master's degree in London. And it's just kind of being exposed to like different ideas, different, career fields. And again, I just feel like I fell into it. Like if you look back at, all the steps I've taken, it's not like a direct A leads to B leads to C. It's just kind of like at that moment, what was going on, like big tech boom. So everybody was going into tech companies. And I was fortunate at the time that even though I didn't have, say, a computer science degree background or something like that I worked for a company that, because of the tech boom, they just took any, a college graduate or recent graduate and put them through boot camp. So I didn't know anything about what's called like structured query language, which is SQL. I didn't know that before I started my job, but my first job out of graduate school, they said, no problem, we'll teach you. So it's just been, a series of I'd call fortunate events.
Yeah, I think that's a really valuable lesson is that you can learn at any point in your life in any new career and find your way and place into that career. So that's fantastic. So what would you say is the biggest life or professional skill that you learned from TJ that you still carry with you?
This is going to sound very cliched, but I'm going to say the ability to manage your time and just to continue to learn. Like just be challenged, because whether it's professional or not professional, that is a life skill that you will take with you forever. Time management, like when you're focused on your career earlier, and then if you choose to have a family later and balancing all of that, those are just life skills. And I'd say, TJ helped teach me that in very strong ways. I'm sure all the current TJ students would appreciate that. And also just the curiosity to learn, to keep on learning. I think we all sort of come out of Jefferson being lifelong learners.
Yeah, for sure. And time management's a huge one too. Just being able to focus on many different things at once and still giving your 100% to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So last question, if you had to give a piece of advice to your younger self in high school or earlier, even in college, what would you say to yourself?
I would say, when I was younger, and again, like not all who wander are lost, I'd say be open and welcome kind of the opportunity to not take a straight and narrow path. Because at the time when I'd be like, well, does this make sense for me to do this or not do this? And, worrying too much about it's not the straight and narrow where you go to pre-medical school and then you pre-medical and then medical and then you do the residency. I would say don't worry about that. Just go with what makes sense to you at the time. Just make the decision based on whatever information you have at the time and just enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't think that it has to be an A to B to C kind of recipe. Just enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with me today. It's been wonderful to hear, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Welcome to the She Persists podcast. I'm so happy you're here. Can you start off by just telling me your name and what year you graduated from TJ?
Sharon Baxter. I graduated class of 1990.
Amazing. So can you just start off by telling me a little bit about what you do now after graduating?
So I am a person who's like really in touch with concepts, but not so much with words. So what I do now is I problem solve, working on data engineering and analytics, of course, embracing AI. And in my mind, I do puzzles all day long.
That's amazing.
And so I'm in the financial industry and supporting networks.
Amazing. So, what did you pursue in college, and is that sort of focused on what you're doing now, or has that shifted?
Electrical engineering. It seemed like it was a good fit. Computer science, of course, was around at that time, but the electrical engineering was a little, in my mind, more hands-on. Plus, we did so much computer science here at DJ.
Yeah, a lot.
I was like, well, let me go do this. And they did things like sensors and waves. And then I went into networking, which kind of optics. So it kind of, into telecommunications. So it bridged to that. Kind of fell into it though.
So, what's been your experience as a woman in STEM so far?
Good. It's challenging. I really thrive in groups that are diverse and diverse in all ways, right? Socioeconomic, racial, gender, national, that I've enjoyed. And so I've worked for corporations where I'm able to have groups like that, where there's just a lot of innovative and broad thinking. That said, there's still a lot of the industry that's not like that. Yeah. And when I found myself in those pockets, that was very difficult. So, right now I'm in a team that is diverse like that and global, and that just thrills me. So that's good. And we're innovating because right now, just in the past few years, even though AI has been around forever, it's now really gaining momentum in the workplace. And so that's been exciting.
I'm so glad that we're moving towards a more diverse engineering and STEM community. I think a big thing is just hearing from so many different kinds of people just brings about so many different ideas. And you just learn so much that you wouldn't necessarily learn from in a group that's more cohesive as just one group.
Workplace to do that too.
Yeah, exactly. So, what would you say is one life skill or professional skill that you've learned at TJ that you still carry with you today?
Oh my gosh. At TJ, of course, it was high school. I think for me, I came in with already had the academic stuff going for me. So actually what was important for me then was having the community and camaraderie and resources. And since the academics was kind of a given for me, that what I was learning and was excited. I remember, and I loved doing like the technical stuff. Like I love doing weight room and the theater and the choir, and I love that TJ also allowed for excellence in music and other areas. So, but as far as to me the academia, I guess I just lived and breathed it. I can't even the geoscience. I remember we did an experiment where we put tape in different places to collect dust. So outside of what you might do at another location.
Yeah.
So
I think what you just said about TJ still allowing you to pursue those non-STEM related things, I think that still stands today. TJ is very supportive of understanding that most of the students at TJ are very STEM oriented. They want to pursue something in STEM, but they still really encourage you to pursue things outside of that and have other passions and hobbies, which I think is so important.
And I think that's what's so amazing for innovation. It's integrating interests across all areas.
Especially for a field like STEM, a lot of it is about just how does your work impact other humans? And being able to figure that out is so much more than just STEM and technical matters. It's, humanities and just understanding how the world works.
And then some of us want to work with those humans, and some of us want to be just impacting those humans.
Yeah, exactly.
And then in between.
So, last question. If you had to give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would you say to her?
Oh, well, kind of what you were talking about, like finding support, being in conversation with folks maybe outside the ecosystem, especially if the ecosystem is very homogeneous and in some cases toxic. So having conversations outside of that so that it makes it a little bit easier to have language around what the experience is, and then find other opportunities and resources. And then, of course, confidence.
Yeah.
And I think having that community builds confidence. But being, as anybody who's in a minority group or intersectional, multiple layers of that knows that it's hard when the conversations are not needed to some degree, right?
Yeah.
And so but finding those conversations and persisting, keep on, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, and I think what you said about confidence, it's a lot easier said than done. You build the confidence as you go and as you have these experiences, and I think that's a big thing to be okay with too. Understanding that you're not going to just walk into every single environment and just have all the confidence in the world, right? You'll get to that point eventually.
In the feedback loop.
Yeah.
because there's a feedback loop and it can be negative or positive, and just kind of managing that with the supports, with the, different backgrounds. That's important.
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
I've
you,
loved
Emma.
hearing about your experiences so far, but thank you for being on She Persist.
Okay.
All right, so welcome to the She Persist podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And could you both just start off with your name and what year you graduated from TJ?
Sure. I'm Marianne Rosino, and I graduated in 1998.
I'm Carrie Lee Schmidt, and I graduated in 2003.
Amazing. So if you guys could both just start with telling me a little bit about what you guys do now as a STEM career.
I am currently a math teacher at TJ, and I am also the math team coach at TJ, so get to do math after school and on the weekends also. Lots of math.
I also teach here at TJ. I'm the math and computer science division lead here, and then teach calculus and pre-calculus.
Amazing. So were both of you guys always interested in math, or is that something you discovered a little further down the road?
Well, when I was here at TJ, I was in the CAD lab, which was a thing, and I thought I was going to be an architect. But when I got to college, I was just very jealous of everyone who got to do math problems. And so I was like, yeah, maybe I should just do math. And at the time, there was a math education program, so it worked out.
I decided when I was a little kid I wanted to be a teacher. When I took algebra, I decided algebra 1, I was going to be a math teacher, and it just never changed. And the goal always was to come back here and teach, and it finally worked out a few years ago.
Amazing. So what is one life or professional skill that you learned here at TJ that you still carry with you?
Wow. I mean, tons of things. I mean, I've been here for 18 years, so I've certainly learned how to write an email where you need to say something that is not very nice, but you can make it sound nice. A lot of communication with people outside of just like teaching math.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Communication is always big, whether you're a teacher, like with the students or with the parents or anybody like that. And I think I started those skills when we were students here, of course, and then now, having been back for quite a few years, that's just continued to develop. And the students are always challenging you then as well to make sure that you're on top of your game and figuring out the answers to those questions and knowing what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that both of you guys started out at TJ and are now back at TJ. So you've kind of seen TJ grow throughout the year.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a fun place to be. We have alumni who are math teachers. Yeah, so if you're not sure what you're looking to do, I mean, it's a pretty good place to work.
And all ranges from like the early 90s up to our youngest one is a class of 2014.
If you had to go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would you say?
I mean, definitely there's like a lot of things that you worry about as kids that you don't need to worry about at all. I just hear people talking about SAT scores and grades, and I guess maybe now ACT scores and other things. And like most of that stuff I just don't even remember anymore, and maybe mattered for like a tiny bit of time. So try to focus on the things that are fun and interesting, and I think the rest of it will work out.
Yeah, I think also like try to find the thing that you are most passionate about. So obviously I like doing math itself, but I was in the color guard here and everything, and I came back and I coached as well. And those are the memories I have are from the different activities and things that I did here. So you have to find that other part of yourself as well as whatever you end up doing with your whole career too.
Yeah, I think TJ does a great job at realizing that everyone here, a lot of people here are very STEM focused, but they also really encourage pursuing things outside of that.
Yeah, and lots of options. So just make sure you explore all of them. That's what high school and college are great for before you have to go work all the time. Even if you like work, still a job. So
it's still good to have something outside of that.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you both for being here today. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the alumni fair.
Thank you.
All right. Well, welcome to the She Persist podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Could you just start out by telling me your name and your graduation year?
Right. I'm Alison, and I graduated from TJ in 2005.
Amazing.
20-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh, that is so nice. I'm sure it's wonderful to see everyone again.
It is.
Yeah. But would you just start with telling me a little bit about what you do now?
Right. So now I'm actually still a physicist, and I started doing physics here at TJ. and I'm now a professor of particle physics at Lund University, which is in Sweden.
Oh, I'm so glad that you found that passion at TJ.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So how did you figure out you wanted to be a professor? Is that something you always kind of knew you wanted to do?
Being a teacher and being a scientist was kind of a childhood dream. I loved math, and physics was sort of applying math to the real world. And I really enjoy working with other people and helping them understand as well. It also helps me to understand. So becoming something in the teaching area was a natural step, and the stars aligned, and I found a pathway that led to where I am now.
Yeah, so are you teaching in Sweden, or are
Yes.
you? Oh my gosh! So are you just here for this weekend for the alumni?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so nice.
As I said, we have our reunion for 20 years this.
So that's amazing. Well, what's something really unique about teaching in a different country?
Getting used to the cultural shift, the way education works in a different country is always very interesting. And I have to say, teaching students is very exciting and invigorating and inspiring for me to help them on their in their learning, let's say. And when you see the light bulb goes on, it's so rewarding. And it's fascinating to meet with younger people these days and really see their individuality and see where they are in their own journey, and we hope to have a small bit of an impact on them as they move into their future.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you're having an amazing impact on them, especially, I know TJ probably had a huge impact on you. So
Absolutely.
it's amazing that you're
I start here.
yeah, it's amazing that you're able to pass that along to
Yeah.
other generations.
I had
Yeah.
spectacular teachers when I was a student here, when I was in college, graduate school. I think of them and I hear their voices in my head when I'm doing my own work these days, and so I try to reflect that for my own students.
So what is a professional or life skill that you learned here at TJ that you still carry with you?
I would say problem solving and learning how to think critically. Yeah, I would say problem solving is the big one. And that was emphasized in so many classes, not just physics, but also math, other science classes, and so on. It was really important for me. And also, this in fact is a cultural difference between here in the US versus in Sweden, is that we get a lot of practice as students in the US communicating our results. So giving presentations in class, writing papers, various things like that, talking with our teachers or our classmates. And you don't see that everywhere. And I think it's really valuable, because what's the worth of doing something if you can't then tell other people about it?
Yeah, definitely.
So communication skills are also really important.
Yeah, and I think what you said about problem solving, I think TJ does an excellent job at teaching you not only how to
Absolutely.
apply something in school, but in the real world as well, and
Yeah.
just helping you build outside of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So what would you say is one of your favorite memories from your time at TJ? Maybe a tradition or just something smaller that you just remember?
Well, I mean, I think the amazing thing about TJ when I was here, and I think still today, is that classes are hard. The subjects, the information, the content that we tackle is difficult, but I was surrounded by a group of similarly motivated, similarly interested, similarly brilliant people, and we really worked together and supported each other no matter what we were doing. And so I remember, early mornings on the odd love floor, like working on homework with my friends, or I was in the marching band, so the late night trips coming back from competitions, singing on the bus together, and this kind of community that was built around a shared love of learning was so vital for my growth.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a community you'll never find elsewhere. It's a very specific, very unique community that
Indeed.
we're a part of here at TJ.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, last question. If you had to go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would you say?
I think if I had to go back and give some advice to myself, I would just say, keep going. I mean, even when things are tough, you will have the people around you that will support you, and you will find your place and you will find your passion, and just work hard and keep on at it. Yes, which is what I did, and it brought me to where I am today.
Yeah, I think that's such a valuable life lesson, and persistence podcast, but just persisting through so many different challenges is just it's what makes you better at what you do.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thanks very much.
It was wonderful to hear from you. But
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Hi, welcome to She Persists. I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah.
If you could just start by telling me your name and your graduation year from TJ.
Certainly. My name is Sarah Brummett, and I graduated in 2005.
Amazing. So if you could just tell me a little bit about what you do now, your career and pathway and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a licensed architect. I work for a firm called Page and Turnbull, which is headquartered in San Francisco. And I lived in San Francisco and, heart of the tech world
Yeah.
for 7 years, and then moved back here a few years ago and am the founding director of our DC office. So so I'm growing our practice here, but I specifically focus in preservation architecture. So for me, what was cool about that, I took a very circuitous path, but with preservation architecture, it blends history and design, but also material science, which turned out to definitely tap into my teaching experience, because one of the things that I specialize in is looking at how buildings deteriorate and then how to repair them. And so you're working on a microscopic level, okay, you have this erosion on a building element that's actually caused because you have these salts coming from this area that are wicking up through the water, and then through freeze thaw, you're actually dissolving the molecular structure of the stone, and that's why you're seeing this degradation. Or, oh yeah, you have, reinforcing steel inside of this that is corroding, and that's exerting pressure on your concrete, and that's why you're seeing these cracks and these spalls. And so it's kind of getting into that science and just almost being like a doctor, but for buildings.
Yeah, that's actually really fascinating.
Yeah.
I never really thought of architecture as connected with material science. That's
Exactly.
really cool.
Yeah. And that's why I was happy I found that path in it, that it's there's a puzzle to solve here. Yeah.
So do you have a specific project that's been your favorite or that has been unique to what you're working on?
Oh gosh. I worked on a number of really cool projects, and one of the ones that I finished most recently that is near and dear to my heart, I worked on it for almost 10 years.
Wow.
In San Francisco, was a rehabilitation of a shipwright's cottage from
Oh my
1875.
gosh.
And there was an entire boatyard that was there in the southeastern part of the city, and it built scow schooners, which were a specific boat type that were designed for before we had trucks and container shipping and everything like that. All of the shipping from Asia, South Asia, East Asia, so tea and spices and coffee and chocolate and even anything coming from the Pacific would come in through the port of San Francisco. And it would get unloaded on the Embarcadero, and then it would get loaded onto these scow schooners, which would then take it across the bay to meet the rail lines that, terminated in Oakland and Sacramento and things like that. And so they were specifically designed for navigating the bay, and they were an integral part of the economy of shipping and trade through the western part of the United States. And they were built at this particular boatyard.
Wow.
And so it went through all sorts of changes into the 20th century, and then was abandoned as a business and just kind of sat there moldering, and eventually was purchased by the city in 2014, I think. So almost a little over 10 years ago now. And then my firm got involved with the process of figuring out okay, how do we turn this into a park? How do we redevelop this? And so we worked with a really amazing group of landscape architects and other architects and engineers and the Coastal Commission and all of these things. We had to figure out how to work our pile schedule around the mating season of a certain protected species of fish, because we were actually working on piers in the water even. So it was just a really complex project, and we were involved in so many different aspects of it, and it finally opened and was completed last October. So it's been open almost a year now. It's just amazing community aspect of it. And there was an equitable development plan that was part of it as well, because it's in a community that's really underserved in San Francisco.
That's really
And
nice.
so they actually worked with the community to figure out how can this serve the community? We're making this big investment. They, in the construction project, they hired a bunch of people from the community to work on it. They've hired them as the staff. They have a bunch of programs for neighborhood youth, teaching them how to swim and things like that, teaching them how to boat and water safety. But then also there's a food pavilion that they have pop up local food businesses that are getting their start there, and having residencies and this and everything to kind of be an incubator for local businesses. It's really cool. And that's the sort of project that I love, because it brings together all of these amazing things of this project. And then we also have this really cool building that we've preserved that is a certain type of architecture that's unique to California, at least that I found, and it's called single wall construction, where basically, like, when people went out west, they had so much redwood and it was just everywhere. They didn't have normal frame construction. They basically had these just vertical boards of redwood that they would stack up and basically make a box and then stick the siding on top of that, and that was it. Like, a really wacky structure. And that's how this building was built. So anyway, so we've preserved that, and yeah, so we get to teach about this like unique building technology, and then also serve the community. So
Yeah, and something that's so cool about what you said, you're doing preservation architecture. You really get to see a lot about the history that
yes,
used to be a part of this place. And
exactly.
I think that's amazing that you're able to still preserve that
Yeah.
culture in that community.
Yeah.
And I think what's so beautiful about STEM is how you get to impact the community outside
Absolutely.
of just like the
Yeah.
immediate community, but
Yeah.
also other people. So I love
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
able to contribute to that in your work.
Right,
So,
right. And it's really all about like the history of technology, right? It's like those boats, like that was the
That was-
technology of the day. They were designed specifically for it, and like these were really amazing engineers to like build these
Yeah.
ships. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how did you find your original love for architecture?
I came at it actually through architectural history. So when I graduated from TJ, I was a journalism major at NY and was trying to find, they required you to double major so that you had an area of expertise, which was very admirable. But I was interested in everything. That's part of why I chose in journalism. I was like, I love learning about things and I like writing about them. So like maybe this. Eventually, like I found my way to architectural history through the thought of like, is that a thing that people have studied? But from the thought of like, if these walls could talk, what story could they say? Because as I was touring some historic architecture in New York, I was realizing that you could actually learn something about how families had interacted and like the life in the building just from the architecture itself. And I thought that was so cool. Like, yeah, we shape our space and our built environment, but it also shapes us and like how we interact with people. You can see that on the scale of the building. You can see that on the scale of a city. And that just fascinated me. So I got a bachelor's in architectural history. I ended up transferring to UVA and got my bachelor's there. And then I worked in historic preservation, specifically, like actually on a construction project with the rehabilitation of the Eisenhower office building in DC. And that was incredible because I had that one construction project and I was in the field every day and working with the contractors and the engineers and the specialty artisans that were rehabilitating the building. And that was just like a laboratory for learning and like seeing like the interface of all of these historic technologies from the 19th century interfacing with modern fan coil systems and all of that in terms of like, oh, like how do you take an historic building and make it work for our modern systems and like technology needs, and how do we get fiber optic cable in here and things like that. So that was fascinating, and I went and got my master's in architecture after that. So I always, from the perspective of like, oh, these stories are cool and this technology is cool, and it was less about the design of the building, which I do also appreciate. Like I like the aesthetic aspects, but for me it was always about the stories of the people that live in them and that made them, and what we can learn about that and how the built environment connects us through time.
And I think something that's so cool about what you're doing is you're really taking the culture that's existed throughout all these years and not erasing it. You're just like enhancing it with modern culture too.
Exactly.
So I think that is so cool.
Yeah, how they can kind of like be in conversation.
Yeah.
It's been fun being here and seeing the renovations and being like, oh, like what's familiar and what's very much not. A lot has changed. A lot has changed. But again, like there are parts of it that's like, oh, like you see little glimpses. Yeah. They're like, oh, that's familiar. That's familiar. And the auditorium smells the same somehow. Yeah. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah. So what's been a life or professional skill that you learned here at TJ that you still carry with you?
Curiosity. Absolutely.
That's a big one.
Like, and not being intimidated by not knowing the answer to something. Saying, okay, like, not only am I curious about this, but like, I know how to figure this out. I know how to research this. I know how to look at it from different angles. And I just like, I want to know. I think that's the biggest thing. I feel like that was what was really fostered when I was here, and what I still really value in all of my friends that I've stayed in touch with from TJ is that we're all just like so curious, and I love that. And especially now 20 years on, the fact that we still almost have like a childlike wonder about just like wanting to learn new things and explore new things. And I love that. So that was definitely something that was very much fostered here and that I've taken throughout my career.
Yeah, I think something about TJ is they really pushed you to want to learn for a application outside of just school,
Exactly.
how you can really take that into the real world and make an impact with it.
Right. Yeah. You were never just learning like, this is how you solve this equation. It was like, what does this equation mean? Like, what does this represent in the real world? We're calculating flow rates. That's why this equation makes sense. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, and I think that's still a huge thing at TJ. I would say even in like the physics and math classes, most of the questions are always application based.
Yeah.
How do we actually apply this to something that you could run into in real life?
Right. Yeah.
So last question, if you had to give yourself a piece of advice for when you were younger, what would you say?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like teaching was hard for me. Like, I think it's hard for everyone. And I think I would just say, like, it's gonna be okay. And like, you'll be a little bit trauma bonded with all of your classmates, but it's gonna be great. Like, they're gonna be like some of the best memories. I feel like it's maybe like a little bit like childbirth. Just like, it's not fun, but like you get something really good out of it. Like, really great memories and definitely worth it.
Yeah, I think it's a community you'll never find elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And that community really, that is key. Like, and treasure that.
But I think outside of even just your graduation year, like I know a lot of people who have graduated from TJ who are alumni.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Such a big network of people who all share very similar passions for learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much.
This was
Love
so fun.
hearing from you. I didn't know a lot about architecture before this, so it was really cool to hear. Well, welcome to She Persists. If you guys could just start with your name and your graduation year from TJ.
My name's Colleen Cairns. I graduated from TJ in 2010. And I'm Emma Ferris, and I also graduated from TJ in 2010.
So if you guys can tell me a little bit about your careers now and what you're doing in STEM.
I'll go first. So I did civil engineering for undergrad at Notre Dame. And then after that, found the construction industry. So I've been working in construction management with Clark Construction ever since I graduated from undergrad. And I'm currently a senior project manager with them, getting to be out on the construction sites every day, managing the work that goes into those big projects.
That's amazing. So how did you find your love for construction or just for civil engineering in general?
Yeah, I was interested in architecture and buildings and like how things come together, but also recognized that I was probably a little better at math than I was at art. So that's how I found civil engineering. And then from there, and just experiencing different internships that I had or that my friends had, found that construction was a good way to combine like technical skills with like people skills and business skills. So that's really how I came upon it. I didn't know anything about it before, but I've really found it rewarding.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best ways to explore something is just going into it without knowing much and then just finding your love for it.
I went to the U.S. Naval Academy and studied naval architecture. And then after that, I went to MIT for my master's in mechanical engineering. Currently, I'm an officer in the U.S. Navy.
So did you always know you wanted to be in the military or is that something that...
I'm not sure if I understood when I was in high school what it really meant to be in the military, but I knew that the Naval Academy was a good school. I liked the idea of like a service-oriented job, and I wanted to serve my country. But I didn't really understand like what it all means because you're only 18, like you just don't understand. But yeah, the Navy's been a great place for me so far, so it's worked out.
Yeah. So, and then how did you end up pursuing mechanical engineering?
Well, originally with naval architecture, I thought I might want to do physics or mechanical engineering, but the Naval Academy offers naval architecture, and I just love the ocean and grew up sailing. So it just seemed kind of like a more fun application of mechanical engineering. There's a lot of similarities. And for my master's, I was doing more like ocean-focused research. It just happened to be in the mechanical engineering department.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what is a life or professional skill that you learned here at TJ that you still carry with you today?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard. Yeah. I think the most valuable thing I learned was that before I came to TJ, I was used to being like the smartest kid in the class and like getting the best grades. And it was good to learn earlier on in life that like it's not necessarily good to be the smartest kid in the room or the smartest person in the room. Like you learn a lot more and you grow a lot more when you're with people that challenge you. And that was a humbling and just really good life experience to have at that age.
Definitely. I think you learn the most from people who help you grow because they're outside of just what you already know. So I think that's a really big thing that TJ fosters, which is amazing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything in addition to that to add on to. I think so.
So last question, if you had to go give your younger self a piece of advice, what would you say to her?
Oh man.
I know, big question.
Yeah. I think don't be afraid to try new things and push yourself and explore areas that like you may not feel as comfortable with or as good at, kind of like along those same lines of like you may not be the smartest person in the room, or it might be something that you've never done before, but you don't know until you try if you're gonna like it.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I would say like it's good to not quit, but you don't have to keep doing something just because it's hard or just because you think you have to. Like I thought I wanted to be a physics major, and then I took one class for physics majors in college, and I was like, I actually don't like this. Like I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
I could just do something I enjoy and do naval architecture instead. And that was 100% the right choice. And I'm so glad I was never a physics major. So yeah, it's something that I thought was going to be like challenging and impressive, and it just wasn't right for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay to move on.
Yeah, what you were saying, I think one of the hardest things to do is leave the status quo and leave what you think you're gonna do or what you are already doing. So I think that's a really important thing to learn in life is that you're not stuck where you are and you can branch out to other things. Well, thank you guys so much. I've enjoyed talking to you and good luck in everything that you're doing right now. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the alumni event.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Once again, I'm your host, Emma Zareen, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the She Persists podcast. As you